We are going to hold people accountable that push lies. And the president believes deeply that American news outlets should be reporting the truth.
Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro. In your wildest imagination, you could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere.
How ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Nobody saw this coming. The chaos, noise, and drama were expected, but what actually happened shocked everyone. Megyn Kelly didn't just show up to watch. She came ready to turn the whole situation upside down. Karoline Leavitt didn't simply leave the courtroom with a win. She stepped back onto the national stage and made The View feel like her personal trophy case. Megyn fired off sharp jokes, Joy struggled to respond, and Whoopi looked ready to explode. Through it all, Megyn smiled like she had just finished a sold-out comedy show. So what caused daytime TV's biggest mess to spiral into this slow-motion collapse? Get ready, because this story has sharp timing, a clever setup, and an ending nobody expected.
ABC, having just paid $15 million for a defamation lawsuit, would think not to engage in conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that.
For years, the women at that famous table acted like they controlled the conversation. They seemed untouchable and completely sure that the rules for everyone else didn't apply to them. Then came the bill, $800 million in consequences, hitting the ABC lot like a runaway train. Karoline Leavitt didn't just hand them a legal defeat. She turned their own story around and changed the ending. And Megyn Kelly didn't quietly step in to watch. She walked straight into the mess and made things even more intense, smiling like she had been waiting for this moment for a long time.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
Before we go any further, hit the like button and subscribe because this one is too good to miss. Imagine waking up one morning sitting behind a famous table, sharing strong opinions while millions of viewers listen. Then the next morning, the network is dealing with a major financial crisis, and your name is connected to a lawsuit big enough to scare even top executives. The View built its brand around bold and unfiltered commentary, aimed at anyone who became the target of the week. But it seems they forgot that unfiltered speech can also have legal limits. And when sharp jokes aren't checked by a legal team, those punchlines can come back with a huge price tag.
Melania Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all agree on that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
Would you look? This is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual.
Let's be absolutely clear about the scale of this, because slap on the wrist doesn't even begin to cover it. This wasn't a warning. This wasn't a fine you bury in the quarterly budget and quietly move on from $800 million. The kind of number that clears out entire boardrooms. The kind of financial gut punch that has network executives staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering if a total rebrand might somehow save what's left of the furniture.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J 6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis toward Harris, toward Biden, toward AOC, toward all of the left, including their own show, Sunny Hostin? The hypocrisy is rank.
We did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
What played out in that courtroom wasn't a simple legal dispute. It was a reckoning, the kind that reshapes entire industries. Karoline didn't show up to participate. She showed up to dismantle, and she walked out of the blast zone without a single hair out of place. Megyn Kelly surveyed the wreckage, pulled up a chair, and proceeded to turn the whole disaster into the most compelling media lesson of the decade. Because here's the thing about trading real journalism for manufactured drama and viral moments. That debt collects interest, and eventually the invoice arrives. The View's usual formula seemed bulletproof at first. Fire off the hot take, stir the outrage, let the ratings roll in, repeat. But somewhere between the rehearsed indignation and the selective storytelling, they crossed a very specific legal line. Karoline didn't fire back impulsively. She didn't vent on social media. She assembled a legal operation built for one purpose. Total methodical, documented destruction. Every claim verified. Every piece of evidence cataloged. Every violation of defamation law highlighted, packaged, and delivered straight into a courtroom. This wasn't revenge. It was architecture.
Everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The View.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust.
When the dust finally settled, $800 million sat on the table as the final answer. That number doesn't just hurt, it restructures. It eliminates entire departments. It turns confident executives into people who flinch at strong adjectives. It transforms a network's entire editorial culture overnight. Somewhere high above Manhattan, a very senior television executive discovered entirely new ways to express regret into soft furnishings. Karoline, meanwhile, remained exactly what she'd been throughout. Composed, deliberate, and completely unbothered. She didn't just secure a legal victory. She planted a flag on territory The View never imagined anyone could take from them. Then Megyn Kelly arrived, and not subtly. She came in the way a perfectly timed audit arrives. Inevitable, thorough, and carrying documentation. Her commentary wasn't emotional. It was precise, methodical, delivered with the calm satisfaction of someone who watched this particular disaster developing in slow motion for years and kept every receipt.
And then you get this little lecture from, forgive me, those is over at The View.
I'm a Christian girl. When something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something like God was watching me, that is a very unchristian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. What? Well, God was watching me and not watching them. There's something very disturbing.
That's not what he said.
I should have pulled the plug on that mic yesterday.
That's obnoxious. I don't know what church she goes to. That is how people of faith talk, and the intimation is never, he was looking out for me, but not those monsters.
Here's what made Megyn's response genuinely devastating. She never once raised her voice. No outrage, no theatrics, no moment where she needed to perform anger for the cameras. Just clean, clinical, razor-edged precision. The kind that cuts deeper than any shouting match ever could. Her expression alone carried more weight than a 10-minute monologue. That calm, knowing look didn't announce, "I told you so." It simply confirmed it quietly, permanently, with the authority of someone holding all the supporting documentation. The View didn't just absorb a legal loss. They watched their carefully maintained image of invincibility get peeled back layer by layer in front of a national audience. So, how exactly does a young political figure with years still ahead of her walk into a decades-old media institution and walk out having rewritten the power dynamic entirely? The answer is almost embarrassingly simple. While The View was playing a game built on noise and momentum, Karoline was 3 moves ahead on an entirely different board. Their favorite tactic meant overwhelming a target with group pressure and manufactured consensus turned out to have clearly defined legal boundaries. And crossing those boundaries, it turns out, comes with subpoenas, discovery requests, and a financial consequence that changes the conversation permanently.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended, because you know who showed up.
Karoline's legal team didn't arrive hoping for the best. They arrived prepared for everything. Defamation law, liable precedents, a documented evidence trail substantial enough to fill an entire production archive. The discovery phase alone became a masterclass in exposure. Internal communications retrieved, production notes examined, segment planning documents pulled apart line by line, and buried inside those documents. Confirmation that the narrative had been deliberately shaped around ratings rather than accuracy. The moment that evidence entered the courtroom, the case stopped being competitive. Reputational damage documented. Professional consequences documented. Deliberate disregard for accuracy documented, time-stamped, and devastating. What The View's producers had internally dismissed as routine programming became exhibit A through exhibit whatever came last in one of the most thorough legal dismantlings the industry had ever witnessed. The fatal miscalculation assuming Karoline Leavitt was just another guest cycle. Someone to be processed, defined, and moved past. She wasn't processing anything. She was building a case.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
Oh, my God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
Decades of cultural dominance had given The View something dangerous. Absolute certainty that they were untouchable. That certainty is exactly what Karoline Leavitt walked straight through. She converted their dismissiveness into documentation, their overconfidence into evidence, and their $800 million mistake into a defining moment for the entire media landscape. Megyn Kelly watched all of it unfold with the composed attention of someone who had always known this day was coming. When the verdict arrived, her response wasn't celebration. It was something sharper. A structured surgical breakdown of every decision that led to this outcome, delivered with the kind of precision that only comes from years of watching the same pattern repeat. She didn't need to editorialize. The facts were already doing the heavy lifting. She simply framed them clearly, methodically, and with a visible satisfaction that required absolutely no explanation. The after effects rippled through the industry instantly. Production meetings got longer. Legal reviews became mandatory. Hosts who had previously fired off opinions like they were texts to a friend suddenly developed an entirely new relationship with the word allegedly.
They love nothing more than tearing down women with the most petty and vacuous of insults. Leavitt appears to be a fierce operator, but she's also 27 and arguably quite glamorous. So of course, the kind and progressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
The transformation inside newsrooms was immediate and visible. Adjectives that had previously sailed through editorial review were now generating 3-round legal consultations. Network leadership was quietly absorbing the full weight of what a single carelessly produced segment could actually cost. Because when you strip everything else away, the politics, the personalities, the drama, what this case ultimately exposed was something much more fundamental. Sloppy work, opinions presented as verified fact, targeted commentary assembled without the basic due diligence that journalism requires. And Megyn Kelly didn't just point at it. She illuminated every corner of it with the kind of clarity that made looking away impossible. The commercial consequences arrived fast. Advertising partnerships quietly dissolved. Distribution agreements disappeared from the schedule. The segment itself was scrubbed from every platform, an act of digital erasure that fooled absolutely no one because the financial damage it left behind was permanently, visibly, undeniably real. Karoline Leavitt's transformation through this process was remarkable. She entered as someone The View had publicly decided to define. She exited having permanently redefined herself on her own terms, backed by a courtroom verdict, carrying a cultural authority that no segment could touch. She demonstrated something the industry clearly needed reminding of. The person being targeted gets to respond. And sometimes that response costs $800 million. Megyn Kelly's role throughout wasn't simply commentary. It was documentation, a running record of what institutional arrogance looks like when it finally meets its match. She made one truth impossible to ignore. A microphone is not armor. A studio is not a courtroom. And confidence without accuracy is just liability waiting to be filed. The culture inside television changed in ways that will outlast the headlines. Legal teams expanded. Editorial standards tightened. The casual weaponized confidence that had defined a certain style of daytime programming quietly but permanently left the building. And all of it traces back to one verdict, one number, one woman who refused to be defined by people who never bothered to verify their facts. Karoline Leavitt didn't escalate. She didn't perform. She documented, filed, and won. And somewhere in the aftermath, across every talk show set, still processing what just happened. The most expensive lesson in daytime television history is being learned one carefully worded sentence at a time. Megyn Kelly made sure of it. Not by screaming, not by performing outrage, but by being the calmest, sharpest, most prepared person in the room. Which, as it turns out, is exactly how the most lasting damage gets done.